Now let's talk about causes of unemployment. So, and this is across the world. So, for cyclical unemployment caused by the economy when in a recession, both monetary and fiscal policy tools are available to high-income governments, right? So they basically have the resources in order to change the economy. European economies do have a higher natural rate of unemployment, and this is because they have a greater number of rules and restrictions that discourages firms from hiring and unemployed workers from taking jobs. So one example would be they have higher unemployment benefits. So because they have higher unemployment benefits, workers are less have less incentive to go back to work. So therefore, they're going to be unemployed longer. And if you have more people unemployed longer, and you have more people unemployed, then your natural rate of unemployment is going to be higher. So, for example, in 2023, the U.S. natural rate of unemployment is 4.39%. You can actually look this up on the Fed, the St. Louis Fed's website. Rates for France, Germany, Spain, and Italy are currently around 10%, but the natural rate could be around 6%. So again, it is higher because of the different rules in place. Okay. Low income and middle income countries face employment issues that go beyond unemployment. So basically, it's just because of the industries, right? So a lot of the low income nations are more into farming, fishing, and hunting. They don't really have these bank jobs that pay a wage, right? To say like, yep, they work 40 hours a week, they are employed. But if they're farming and fishing, they're living, right? So it's like this balance of like, are they living or are they working? Or if they're living, are they unemployed or are they employed because they're working? So sometimes the data could be, a little skewed, right? Because they could be working, right? And so technically employed, but they don't have a real job, so they're unemployed, right? So, when you got to look at low income nations, you got to consider that. You can also consider the fact that they barter and trade with other people, so they don't really have a market set up in the sense of like, yep, this is the price for this, you can pay with cash, right? They have a barter economy where I'll trade you a chicken for a goat kind of thing, right? I'll trade you a t-shirt for a shoe. That's a barter economy. So are not employed, but neither they are employed in a regular wage job. We talked about that. Are often not eligible for social benefits like unemployment insurance or old age payments. Okay, again, because of this like confusion about, or we just don't have the infrastructure set up for them. And then are not connected to the labor market, so are often unable to specialize very much. So basically, it's like, if you're in a more traditional economy, or you don't have the businesses set up to begin with, you're gonna have to do a lot of things yourself. Okay, so you might have to be your boss, your accountant, your finance person, your dishwasher, right? You need to be everything for yourself. And so basically what happens here is because you don't have the resources to be able to have these different industries, we're going to have this disconnection in the labor market. So we can't really specialize in something. So next we'll talk about inflation. So for high income nations, we can use monetary policy to prevent inflation, right? So if you have an inflationary gap, you would use contractionary fiscal policy to where you would decrease the price level. And you use this to become from becoming entrenched in the economy in the medium and the long run. For high-income nations, they do know there is no long-run gain to letting inflation becoming established. So for that, remember, if we just looked at the long run and we have aggregate demand, high-income nations realize that if we just spent more money to increase GDP, all we're really going to do is just increase the prices, right? So there is no long-run gain by doing fiscal or monetary policy, right? All you're going to do is just get inflation. Okay? In a number of middle and low-income countries around the world, inflation is still a problem. This generally arises from their huge budget deficits, which the government finances by printing its own domestic currency. So Zimbabwe got a lot of trouble with this, is that they needed more money to spend, so they printed more currency, and by printing more currency, this devalued the currency to where now you can find probably $100 billion bill from the Zimbabwe. So too much money chasing too few goods. So basically, it's your traditional economy, similar to that. So you don't have the variety of goods. So basically, you have very few goods, but then also you have a lot of money for them. So, that's where inflation can really kick in. Some have managed to sustain solid levels of economic growth for sustained periods of time with high levels of inflation. These governments index most contracts, wage levels, and interest rates to inflation. So basically what's happening here is that some countries do realize that they have higher rates of inflation, so they will index. So basically inflation's up by 5%, your wages go up 5%, so they're indexed. They move in the same direction. A converging economy, an economy of a country that has demonstrated the ability to catch up to technology leaders by investing in both physical and human capital. So convergence is basically like you have the top dog country and you are trying to get to that. But in order to do that, you need to invest so much back here to where you're increasing, and slowly you are converging onto the top country. All right. So you're down here, you're going to start to increase, and then you're going to start leveling off to where you get to the top. That's what convergence is. Okay? You are demonstrating the ability to catch up to the technology leaders by investing in both physical and human capital. All right. Finally, the balance of trade concerns. Many countries have learned that reducing barriers to trade is beneficial to the economy. Many smaller world economies learn that if they do not participate actively in world trade, they are unlikely to join the success stories among the converging economies. So basically, what we're going to learn in the next chapter in terms of trading and comparative advantages is that you will have gains from trade. Okay, you will be benefiting from trading with another country. In some of these countries, many small world countries learn that if they do not participate in this, they do not get this gains from trade. There are no examples in the world history of small economies that remained apart from the global economy and still attained a higher standard of living. So, the data speaks for itself, is that you need to have these economies you need to have a global economy, basically trading with others, in order to really have this economic growth. There is some concerns over international trade, though, and it's always a list of worries about foreign trade in goods and services, such as job loss, environmental dangers, unfair labor practices, and many others. So the reason we would have job loss is because if that country makes wheat and you make wheat and they make it cheaper, everybody's going to buy from them. And so do we need you to make wheat anymore? No. We're going to buy from them, so we don't need you to make wheat anymore. So you lose jobs. Okay? So that's what the fear is, that when we do trade with other countries, you're buying their product, you're not buying this product, you are losing out on some jobs here. There could be environmental dangers, there could be unfair labor practices, right? So different countries have different laws, so they have different working hours, different minimum wages. So, that is another thing to be concerned about. The most controversial argument for limitations on trade is the infant industry argument. So basically, you have a brand new industry, brand new company, okay, and you're entering this market that is already established. You already have these other businesses that are interacting with each other, and you're just like this baby in the industry. And so they could quickly squash you out if they wanted to, right? But we do want these new industries coming in because we do want competition. And so what we need to do is we do need to subsidize or protect these new industries for a time until they finally become established. We do want to have competition. So anytime you hear about infant industries, it's literally a new industry that's happening, and they have not been established in this economy yet. So they already are entering an economy that has a bunch of firms in it, and so those firms can quickly just get rid of them. And so we do want to increase competition, so governments will be subsidizing them. The last thing about Chapter 19 is human capital development in solar power technology. Economically challenged regions of the world need to focus on the basics, right? So go back to traditional, right? Whatever you produce is what you consume. So you are only focusing on things to survive, health, education, right? Like just those things to survive. Eventually, you can work into human capital development. All right. More of those higher income nations, right, can have modern technologies such as solar power and Wi-Fi, and this enables education to be delivered to students even in remote areas of the country without electricity. So this is something that we can work towards for sure. Remember, I told you that just because we put more foreign aid in a country does not mean that that will help them. They need a better infrastructure in place. We can give them money for technology, but how are they going to use technology if they are in a remote part of the country that doesn't have electricity, right? So we got to be smart about these things if we're going to invest or give foreign aid to different countries, right? So that's the end of chapter 19. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.